Salut și bine ați venit la o nouă ediție ZF IT Generation. Eu sunt Adrian Săceleanu, jurnalist ZF, iar în ediția de astăzi vă prezentăm cele mai importante fragmente dintr-un interviu acordat ZF de Ken Morse, un antreprenor american în serie, implicat în companii celebre precum 3Com, achiziționată ulterior de HP, care a fost consilier pentru inovație și antreprenoriat al fostului președinte Barack Obama, dar și un antrenor în vânzări cu o solidă reputație internațională. Discuția cu Ken Morse, care a mai fost și în trecut în România, a fost facilitată de BCR, care l-a invitat pe piața locală în această primăvară pentru a susține în fața antreprenorilor un masterclass dedicat strategiilor de vânzări globale. Discuția cu ZF a pornit, bineînțeles, de la modul în care vede Ken Morse antreprenorii din România. Vă invităm, deci, să urmăriți discuția.
I would like to hear your perspective on Romanian entrepreneurs, because you are not for the first time here in Romania. You had previous journeys here and interactions, and you helped a lot of people here to develop.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how did you perceive it for the first time when you came here, and what's your take now?
So 10, 11, and 12 years ago, some colleagues of mine at MIT and I taught a series of workshops for Romanian entrepreneurs who were selected, and we taught sales first, then marketing, then corporate governance and building the team, and then financing for growth. They all said, oh, just all we need is the money, right? But it turns out, of course, that's completely the wrong way around. You won't get money until you have customers. So the single best predictor of whether a company is going to do well is, first of all, is it a team? One-man companies or one-woman companies just don't ever make it. But if it's a team of like-minded who represent different disciplines, that's the first thing. Secondly, high ambition and low ego. That's really important because it means that they will be ambitious for the company, not for themselves. Thirdly, as Bogdan was explaining to just a moment ago, you have to go global. The Romanian market is slow, stodgy, cheap. I can go on. But if you want to build a company that is going to be successful, you have to go outside Romania sooner rather than later. This is true in almost all the countries and jurisdictions where I've done this training, entrepreneurial skills development, except North America. In North America, that's the big market. But even there, the customers are going to be concentrated in Boston, New York, Silicon Valley, Austin maybe, Seattle to some degree. But there are other parts where business is very conservative and slow to buy as well. So the single best predictor is ambition, team, technology as a source of sustainable competitive advantage. We didn't invite companies into the program back in Bogdan's day that weren't ambitious, because we already knew how important that was. Are all Romanian startup companies ambitious? No. I would also say this. Kids right out of school should not start companies. We teach you how to think in university, but we don't teach you how to do stuff. The way you learn how to execute is by working in well-managed, ideally rapidly growing companies, and then starting. And you will have better access to customers if you've worked with them before. The 3 Ks: know the market, know people in the market, and be well known in the market. Is Romania a good place to start a company? If you have those criteria, young adults, not kids, ambitious, team, and technology, it's a great place. You're in the European Union, you've got customers that need you and that can afford to pay.
Can I ask you, maybe it's a stupid question, maybe not, about this, the need for a team. We see a lot of noise around AI and the fact that at this point in time, if you are a solo entrepreneur and you have AI teammates, you can make it. You can build a business out of this. I'm curious, maybe not specifically about this, but how do you see all this talk about around AI tools that seem to replace every kind of expertise and knowledge? You just have AI and everything is great.
Well, what do you think?
I don't think it's possible, but you know, I don't have your expertise, your knowledge, and your vision. So I'm curious to see how do you.
Well, that's why we started the journal. Well, the journal says if you want to solve a valuable business problem using AI, you need people who have huge domain expertise. You can't teach AI models all the domain expertise. And if you do want to teach the models everything, you've got to have the data to start with, which means you have to be a veteran of the industry. Do we have a revolution? Yes. Is there a lot of hype? Yes. Is it here to stay, or is it a trend that's like the Nehru jacket that's going to go out of fashion? No. There's no going back. But is our workplaces going to be changed forever? The smart, hardworking people who are flexible will continue to be in enormous demand. People in large government bureaucracies who aren't doing anything anyway, maybe they will be replaced by machines faster than they might be able to retire. That's just one guy's opinion. The flip side is, for Romanian companies to go global and achieve some kind of sustainable global growth, they're going to have to use every technology they can get their hands on to be cost competitive and to be more nimble. But I'll just give you one example. One of my companies where I was on the board of advisors for 8 years, we had a superb potential customer that wanted to make a strategic decision to embrace our capabilities. It was during COVID, all that stuff. There's only so far that you can get with PowerPoint and Zoom. I got on an airplane and went to visit them, and the conference room people were sitting 6 feet apart with masks, okay. And was a great time to travel in the US, 3 people in the plane, you know. Not like now. We had the presentation and the discussions and all of that, and everyone went away convinced that they should go forward with us. They got up to leave, and I was being escorted by one guy who had brought us in 2 years earlier. And we got to the parking lot, and I said, "Don't start the car." "What? Isn't that the CEO's car next to us?" "Yes." "We're going to wait for him to go home." And so we sat there for 10 minutes. For my friend, it seemed like an eternity. And the CEO came out to drive home, and we stood in the parking lot, in the snow, like a bunch of idiots, but it was safe, COVID friendly.
Yeah.
We had the conversation about which established the trust that was necessary for them to subsequently invest serious amounts of money. They're building a factory around the technology that cost $20 million. That never would have happened without 2 senior business executives looking each other in the eye and saying, are we ready to get started? I don't think that will change. People aren't gonna, companies, well-managed companies that are $1 billion in sales are not gonna decide to make a $20 million investment based on talking to a bot. It just isn't gonna happen. So if you are thinking of starting a company and selling with your bots, you better get used to the idea, in addition to your bots, is putting your butt in an airplane and burning jet fuel.
Going back to Romanian entrepreneurs, how do you see, based on your interactions, do you see any kind of, let's say, common mistakes or common misapproaches to market, or things that are not, let's say, you're not seeing them in USA, for example, or lack of ambition, I don't know, mistakenly doing sales or something? Is there anything?
I have a course about doing international business, and I say to my students, when you're giving examples, don't ever give an example about the country that you're in, because it's too risky. I'd like to talk about maybe the region. It's not, sales is not in the water that you drink every day here, the way it is in Route 128 and Silicon Valley. So the importance of sales isn't taught in school. It's not taught in school. It's not absorbed in the candy store. It's not as celebrated as it is in some other parts of the world, and that's a problem. The second thing is we often hear when we're teaching sales and sales management, well, Ken, you don't understand, it's just not the way we do things here. Well, that is what are they saying when they say that? What they're saying is, I'm afraid to do that. So overcoming the fear of rejection is one of the things that I teach, and which I think you would say was important at this critical turning point in building your company. So another thing that I hear a lot is, gee, you don't want to be pushy. That would be seen as being pushy. Well, it turns out that large companies everywhere in Europe, at the senior management level, they know that their companies are sclerotic or have arthritis and don't move fast enough. And so I found that senior executives sometimes, when we're walking to lunch in the company cafeteria, which is usually pretty good around, in Europe, they say, you should be more aggressive with my people. I can't get them to move. So it's actually a misperception that by being assertive and so on, that you'll get rejected. I think you get appreciated. If you have a good product and you believe in it and you evangelize it, that's not obnoxious, that's admirable. So fear of rejection, just fear, not knowing how to do it, and not valuing sales and customer acquisition. it is true that I'm known for saying that to audiences, particularly in academia and also with governments, that salespeople are not lower life forms. It's quite the opposite. Because for me, the definition of innovation is invention times commercialization. If either one is zero, you don't have any impact. And commercialization involves getting customers to adopt and pay for your solution. And you won't have a lot of impact unless you go outside Romania, and that's scary for some, for many. And you go to Europe, but you probably also have to go to North America to be able to get the bigger tickets. You asked about problems in Romania. The problem that I have no solution for, I'm counting on you to take care of this, is that large companies in Romania and the government don't buy from small companies. And if they don't buy from small companies, then companies don't have the oxygen to live and grow. There's a well-respected law in the U.S., which has been around for 50 or 60, 70 years, that the government has to spend at least 3%. Every ministry has to spend 3% of what it buys from small companies.
How should entrepreneurs and companies ponder how much great people should they have and how many great tools should they have? And in this, because it's a lot of noise and it's growing about this. Yeah. AI. This is maybe one of the things that I'm curious about.
So he's not old enough, but you're old enough to remember when computers first came around on your desk.
Yeah.
And there was all kind of noise. Oh, this is going to change everything. We're going to lose our jobs and so on and so on. What happened?
We didn't lose our jobs.
Unless we didn't changed some jobs. We
Yeah.
recycled some people. Most people astonished themselves that they embraced and adopted the technology. Okay. And now you go into hospitals, you go into shipyards, you go into the airports. Everywhere you go, people are tapping touch screens, and what happened? We got more productive, and we earned more money. So, and then PCs became just like plumbing, okay? Then there was going to be the internet, right? What's the internet? It's plumbing. It's just a way we move electrons around. I was in the internet revolution because I was a founder of 3Com Corporation. So we were out there, but it didn't take long before it became commoditized and everything else. AI, whatever that is, right? You can't buy a computer today that doesn't have an NVIDIA chip in it, right? I mean, the last machine I bought for my desktop, right? It's all there, and it will be used, and it'll be used more and more, and it will make us more productive. And some people will really apply it. We talked about some examples of companies in different industries that have already developed applications that have made them more productive and increased their productivity. And the guy who is on the shop floor, whose job becomes taken over by a robot, probably is happy because his job was dangerous, and now the robot is the one that's in danger and not him. And he's going to wind up in an office somewhere telling the robots what to do because he has the knowledge of the processes and the systems. Okay? So basically, we'll just get more productive. And some people will be uncomfortable for a while because they'll have to learn something new. And
So knowledge is not overrated in these times.
one guy's opinion, the ability of human beings to adapt is why we're still here.
Yeah.
Is that an upbeat note to end on?